The button, yeah?
Yeah.
Welcome back to Night Flight. This is, I'm Judith Gruber, and today I have Brian Taylor with me. He is an author and he has written several books, among them The Language of the Gods, The Metaphysics of the Gods, and The Metaphysical Diet. His website is brtaylormetaphysics.com. He also has a very interesting YouTube channel. I will link everything below. And now, Brian, welcome to Night Flight.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So, Brian, do you hear this ventilator in the background? Do you hear that?
No.
No? Okay. So for the audience, in case this ventilator somehow influences the sound today, it has been for several days around 35 to 38 degrees here. Now here in Germany, it's noon. So it's, I can't sit without a ventilator. I'm very sorry, have to apologize, but otherwise I will melt away here.
I've got the same. I have a fan. I've got a fan pointing at me as well.
Okay, so Brian, what brought you into the field of metaphysics? Was there a moment in your life that made you question everything, reconsidering everything, or what was it that brought you into this field?
Well, I've always been fascinated with the deeper aspects of most topics. So I want to get to the bottom of things, the big questions of life. But you go through the educational system of the majority of Western countries, and they just don't offer that facility. It's just this is what we offer, and don't think any further. And it's only when you've gone through the years, done your education, and then done your working life, these questions still ponder in your mind, filter through from the subconscious, and then you get to a point in your life where you just start applying yourself and doing a bit of research. And with the help of the internet and all this new technology, it's easier to get the answers to the questions. Well, it was a few years ago without this censorship crackdown, but you can still find it if you persevere, if you go to the right sources.
Yeah.
So I'm so fascinated with the foundation, the benchmark of my research is astrology, because that's the oldest living language known to man, and it's not changed for thousands of years. It seems to be a benchmark of how conscious connection to the macrocosm, the microcosm, and the logos, universal consciousness. And it gives us perspective of why we are here and how we connect with nature's rhythms and cycles. And it's a blueprint and a benchmark for solid roots of a good life and understanding what we're here for. And because it's been unchanged for thousands of years, it's really the only credible source of looking at our history. You can gain a lot from an astrological cycle. It's not just about horoscopes. It also has ages and epochs and influences from these transiting planets and solar cycles. I mean, we've just been through the age of Pisces, 2,160 years of the Piscean age, with its own unique flavor and influences. Now we're entering a new age, which is unfolding in the way it is. We're going through a transition. We're going through a transition period, because the ruling planet, of course, is in ancient traditional astrology is Saturn. Yeah. So this is
Okay, and
This is what,
Saturnian energies, they are, yeah, very restrictive, limiting, and on, yeah, let's say on the negative side. It
well, yes, yes.
it can
There,
present itself as what we are witnessing now, let's say with the censorship, and so in it has a positive aspect. And what I mean by that is you need to have some structure. But at the far end of that, you know, you can totally go overboard, and then you come to this conclusion. Everybody has to have the same opinion now. We can no longer, yeah, you know what I mean.
well, the characteristics of Saturn are control, restriction, frustration, limitation, austerity, loss, pessimism. They're basically, it's a 180-degree paradigm shift from the Jupiterian philosophy and characteristics.
Yeah.
You can gain a great understanding of these characteristics of the planets just from their glyphs, just from the glyphs of them themselves. I mean, I can share a picture with you.
Yeah.
Let's try and get this share screen with, now how do we do this? Share screen. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. Share screen. I want to, well, I tried to do this earlier and it worked. So, can you see my screen? You can see my screen, can't you?
No.
Can you see now?
No.
Oh, okay. Let me try this again. Get myself up. How do we do this? Open that up. Share screen. Share screen. Aha.
Yeah,
Can you
here
see?
we go. Now we are talking.
Here we go. Okay. Now what we have here is the glyph for Jupiter, which is made up of a crescent over a cross.
Yeah.
Now all the planetary glyphs are made up of a combination of these three factors below: the soul, the spirit, and the physical. You have a circle representing the soul consciousness. This is your focal consciousness. The crescent is the spirit consciousness, the subconscious. And the cross is the physical. So with Jupiter, it is the crescent of spirituality over the cross of the material realm. So during that whole age, the epoch of the Piscean age, it was a very spiritual dominated age. And the ambassador for the age of Jupiter, because Jupiter was the name of the planet in Rome, but in Greece it was Zeus. So you have Jupiter, Zeus. So the ambassador for the age was Zeus.
Yeah.
Now he has all the same characteristics as Jupiter: optimism, good fortune, goodwill, expansion, abundance, blah, blah, blah. Now, as we move into the new age of Aquarius, ruled by the traditional planet Saturn, it's a complete 180-degree paradigm shift. You have the cross of materialism over the crescent of spirituality. So this means that all religions, all spirituality is going to go under the surface, and it's going to be taken over and overridden by the material realm, as we are seeing. And this is all about control, restriction, pessimism, loss, rather than the opposite, which was expansion, abundance, optimism. and good fortune. So this is what we are heading into. As Jupiter leaves, Saturn comes forward.
Mm.
But also this age, let's get another picture up. This age, here we are. Can you see this one?
Yes, but it's not open. I see it in the line of other pictures.
Ah,
Maybe you click again on it and open it. Nope.
nope. Oh. Stop sharing that one. Da, 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 da. There.
Yep.
Is that it?
Yeah, here we go.
Wow. The age of Pisces and Aquarius. Now then, here, pull him down there. This is a breakdown of the whole age of Pisces. 2,160 years divided yet again into another 12 houses of the zodiac.
Mm.
Just like the clock face. The clock face represents the zodiac. 12 sections of the zodiac. So when we wake up in the morning, between at sunrise, when the sun appears on the horizon, at 6 a.m., for 2 hours, the sun is in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. Everything starts with Aries.
Yeah.
Ruled by Mars. So for those 2 hours in Aries, what do we do between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m.?
Sleep. Hopefully.
You see the glyph, going back to the glyph, it's a circle with a cross pointing in a specific direction.
Mm-hmm.
This is Mars, which means the focal consciousness is going to be going in a specific direction.
Mm.
It's proactive movement in a specific direction. This is Mars. So between 6 and 8, people people wake up. They wake up from the subconscious realm. The sun or soul comes up in the morning, energizes their soul consciousness, giving them breath into their soul consciousness. They wake up, become aware consciously, get out of bed, stand on the earth with the soles of their feet, and then proactively move to their place of work. And most people go to work between 6 and 8 a.m.
Mm.
And the next sign, of course, is Taurus, the bull in his field. So once people get to work, they're in their field of whatever work they're doing. So these astrological influences from the ruling planets of each sign has an influence, whether it's on the hourly, on the clock face of the day, on a monthly basis, i.e., is your star sign an Aquarius, a Virgo, blah blah blah, or it influences the mini epoch within the Piscean age, the mini epochs within the Aquarian age. And each age starts off with a mini epoch of Aries, ruled by Mars. And Mars, of course, is martial-like activity.
Mm.
It's military. It's aggression, frustration, action. People moving in a specific direction. So, what we have here, we have a diagram of the Piscean age, of course, which I've just mentioned, broken down into the 12 houses of the zodiac. And we are using a benchmark of the year 2012 as our changeover.
Mm.
we have to try and calibrate this to give it credence. So we have 2012 as the point of, which signifies the end of Pisces and the transition period into Aquarius.
Mm.
Now, how can we credibly say that that is a credible calibration? Well, if we go all the way back through history, through the last 2,160 years, it gives us a date of 148 BC for the start of the Piscean age. And for those 180 years, from 148 BC to 32 AD, we had the military expansion, Marshall-like expansion of the Roman Empire. This was the start of their military phase. And then from 32 AD to 212 AD, this is now entering into the Taurus part of this mini epoch. You follow me now? You're following me?
Yes, yes. I'm not lost.
Now, yeah, it's good. Well, this part is ruled by Venus, the planet of love and liking. Now, according to one of our yes, according to one of our greatest historians, Edward Gibbons, he says that without a shadow of a doubt, the best time to be alive was during this period of the Roman Empire, where they stopped expanding. They just basically, like the bull in the field, just kept his ground and just enjoyed those years. So after that, we move into the Gemini phase, which is from the year 212 and 392. This is ruled by Mercury. Gemini and Mercury, the two twins. So what happens to the Jupiterian Christian expansive kingdom, if you want to call it that? What happens? What happens in the two minds of Gemini? It breaks up. It has two capitals. It has both Rome and Byzantium. It splits, an expression of the two twins of Gemini. Then we move into the age of the monks in their monasteries. These are moon watchers. These appear during this mini epoch of the Piscean age. Then after that, we have the sun in Leo. Now this is the heart. This is the heart of the zodiac. Something big is going to appear. Something big is going to happen in the heart of the zodiac. Between 572 and 752, something big in a spiritual way, because it's the crescent of spirituality of the cross of the material realm. What do you think that is? What was the big event during this epoch? Any idea?
What comes to mind?
This is the it's the sign of the king. There's going to be some big figure appearing to rule people, rule. I'll give you a clue. It's Muhammad. Muhammad appears and starts.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you break this, if you actually break that.
You know why I was confused? I was thinking that we are still in BC. And I was thinking along the lines of Babylon, blah, 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 blah. But now I see that here is BC and then it goes, yeah, got it.
Well, we could probably do that with the age of Aries, but that's another subject. I'm just leading you now I'm slowly leading you up into the age of Aquarius, so you understand what to expect. Why the world is going to hell in a handcart. So Muhammad appears at this point, and then after Muhammad, between 752 and 932, you have the Virgo. Virgo, ruled by Mercury.
Mm.
Now, this is the Vikings, the Virgo kings. Virgo kings. Now, why were they called Vikings? It's because they worshipped two gods, Odin and Thor.
Mm.
Thor, Odin was Woden, which is Mercury, and Thor was Jupiter. So you have Jupiter ruling the age and Mercury ruling the mini epoch. So they're the Virgo kings, the Vikings. And then after that, we come to 932, 1102. This is the Normans. Then after the Normans, we have another Mars phase. And what happens between 1112 and 1292? The Mars phase. This is the military expeditions of the Crusades for exactly 180 years. And they stopped at 1 year before the end of 1292, which was 1291 at the Battle of Acre.
Mm.
So then the Crusades stopped. And after the Crusades, it was another Jupiterian expansion of the, this is Sagittarius, the Chiron on his horse with a bow.
My son is in Sagittarius, yeah.
Yeah, this is when the Catholic Church was doing the Inquisitions, going around looking for its next target.
Yeah.
Okay, and then after that, we have Saturn appearing. Saturn rules the whole of the Capricorn age, mini epoch. The Capricorn mini epoch, 1472 to 1652. Now, what is Saturn? Saturn related to restrictions, frustrations, limitations, hard work. This is the start of the commercial age, the commercial revolution leading into the industrial revolution. And also, Saturn is Kronos.
Mm.
Kronos is Father Time. This is when the clock appears. Clock appears in society to start changing human consciousness into realizing its time has restrictions and it's got to work harder, blah, 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 blah. So time makes a huge difference. And also, this is also Capricorn. The motto for Capricorn is I use.
Mm.
And this is when the banking system, the Judaic banking system starts to take starts to blossom.
Yeah.
With its usury. I use usury. Capricorns, I use usury. Anyway, after that we have Aquarius. We have Aquarius within mini epoch within the Jupiterian age, and this is shared. Saturn shares rulership with Uranus.
Mm.
Uranus is the planet of revolutions, rebellion, new technology, out of the blue events. And this is when you had the revolutions. You had the French Revolution and the American Revolution. It's Uranus energy influencing. So then we have, after that, we have more Jupiterian expansion. This is we've had over the last 180 years. We've had quite a lot of expansion of this, of humanity, especially in numbers. So does that calibrate it well enough to give it credence for the year 2012 as the changeover in your mind? Now you've seen the evidence.
So you mean that with 2012, the age of transition began, but not the age of Aquarius itself?
Yeah, this is the 2012 is the changeover point.
Okay.
I suppose you could say it's like watercolors mixing, and you get a bit of a blurred merge between the two colors before you get the full steam ahead with the end of with the real disappearance of Jupiter Zeus and the appearance of the personified ambassador for this new age, which is Satan.
Yeah.
So
You know
we are
what?
now moved.
Sorry.
Yeah, carry on.
Um,
It's okay.
I have to ask you this. Why were all the hippies so head over heels over the age of Aquarius is coming and yay, we cannot wait. And they make musicals about it when in, you know, in a real sense, it has very restrictive energies. So what was that fuss all about?
Well, there must have been some kind of propaganda arm of the governments giving them this false information, this false narrative, because throughout history, the governments do not like the people to know deep esoteric knowledge, and especially astrology to this level, because it empowers them.
Yeah.
They want they want this information for themselves and nobody else, because the kings of the old world always had their own astrologers. They had the best ones, um, because they wanted to know when the best time to do things were and what was coming, what what subtle energies from the universe and the solar system, what subtle energies were influencing human consciousness in this over the next months, the next years, and blah blah blah, because they are just subtle energies. We still have free will. We can still influence this to where we want to go, but these are just helping subtle energies which which sort of push us in a certain direction if we don't impose our own will on things.
Mm. So what would happen, let's say, um, we all focus, it's just speculating. I know it will probably not happen, but we will entertain the idea for a little bit. Let's say we focus all on a specific outcome, meaning we do not want to have more restrictions, more government oppression. We want our full freedom. We do that collectively. And what happens then? Can we turn the energies around? Would our minds, our spirits, would they have that capacity?
Well, for the first 1,000 years of this Aquarian age, Uranus shares rulership with Saturn.
Yeah.
Then after the 1,000 years is over, Satan is released from his cage. You've heard that before, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a Bible passage. Well, that's referring to this 1,000 years of Uranus influence over the first 1,000 years. And the Uranus energy is going to be these outer planets, the three outer planets, subtly influence our subconscious. These are spiritual planets. They influence the subconscious. Whereas all the other planets leading up to Saturn influence the physical realm, because they are within we can see them. We can see those with our soul consciousness, but we cannot see the other ones. So it influences the spiritual. So what is happening here is Uranus is going to be trickling rebellion, individuality, new technology, revolution consciousness into into the subtle subconscious minds of the collective of humanity, while the control system, those aligned with satanic energies, only align, they choose these people wisely. They only want people who are aligned with satanic energies to rule and run the organizations for the globalization project. They want to quash anybody who's in line with the Uranus energies, rebellious energies. So what they can do with this, they can use lots of different methods, using technology, using electromagnetic stimulation, pollution, in order to dampen down the influences from Uranus and expand or excite the energetic influences from Saturn. giving society more satanic energy as opposed to Uranus rebellious energy. So the establishment know full well that they have a battle on their hands, because we are all being fed Uranus rebellious, revolutionary, subconscious energy from this planet, and they have to quell it somewhere. If they didn't, then all hell would break loose. There'd be revolutions, little pocket revolutions springing up everywhere, which you can see to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But they've got a plan. They've got a way to quash this, even if they have to kill a lot of us. I mean, who was it that said it's easier to kill 1 million people now than to control 1 million people?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was Brzezinski, I think.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
But as a human collective, there is. I did a video called "The Final Solution," which is it tells people about the power of collective meditation.
Yeah.
Because meditation is one of the best ways to influence and interface with the sub. And with enough numbers of participants, you can stimulate the collective human subconscious, which is a collective because it's out of the constraints of time and space. It's not like the soul consciousness, it's the spiritual consciousness. And so you can change the past, present, and future with mass meditation on a global level.
Yeah.
All with the same intent, using moon cycles. Because of course the moon is related to the subconscious, blah, blah, blah. So you use moon cycles to initiate these meditative pushes for a change. You've got to reprogram the whole of the human collective subconscious, and that's the way you can do it. Because the control system are programming our collective subconscious with the mass of the morons that don't realize they're being programmed. They are still connected to the subconscious, which we are tethered to as a collective. But because there's more of them than there is of us that are awake, they're influencing the collective for the establishment rather than for the ones that want to rebel against it. Do you understand?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, it's about numbers.
So.
But that's.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's the only way I can see that the humanity, without raising the sword and getting violent, it's the only way we're going to change the ship around. Because the establishment it's programmed us to go from A to B. Our subconscious elephant is going from A to B. We want to go from A to Z. Yeah. And they are stopping us. They're frustrating us. They only want us to go from A to B. And they programmed us from cradle to grave to go from A to B. And that elephant, so that elephant is going to go from A to B. And if we want to change direction with our new aspirations and intentions for the future, we've got to not only battle with the world, we have to battle with our own subconscious elephant, because it's not on our side. It's on the side of the establishment.
What do you think would be the critical mass that we need? Because, I mean, let's face it, let's be realistic. We will not get everybody on board.
Well, they did an experiment in the early 90s. I think it was 1993, 1992, maybe. They did an experiment with, I think they used about 8,000 transcendental meditators in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And they did it over a period of 3 to 4 months to see if they could actually change the statistics of the overall crime rate in Washington, D.C. And after the experiment was concluded, people were flabbergasted. that the crime rate actually went down by about 24%.
Mm.
This was, and that's unheard of. They didn't implement any other strategies apart from this was going off on a continual basis for about 3 to 4 months. So that's in that's in that video, so it'll explain it. But it's fascinating. I mean, I'm in Thailand. This is the heart of the Buddhist nation, and I don't know whether the Buddhists have been doing what they do best, which is going to the temples on the appropriate moon cycles to initiate new intentions into the subconscious. But we've been spared the onslaught of this coronavirus.
Yeah. I know.
So life's relatively normal here, and interesting.
Yeah. So would you like to share another image, or are we still
Yes.
doing it? Okay, go
Yes,
ahead.
I'm going to share another image, because how we see the world changing, we see the whole globe is changing. This globalization project is just an extension of the old British, the British Empire. The British Empire has morphed into a corporatocracy through the Crown Corporation and all these other international corporations. They've all sort of linked together with the same objective, which is complete global control of the world through their corporatocracy. And they're going to, they don't particularly have a need anymore for capitalism. They don't have a need anymore for all these other isms. And they find that the Chinese model of communism seems to be their favorite option for our future political destiny. So I'm going to show you something. Sharing has stopped. Is that?
You said something interesting about English, and it has its roots in Latin, and that Latin was that his name is slipping my mind, but he said that Latin comes from Saturn's people. What did he really mean by that? Did he?
Yeah, who was that? It was I've forgotten what his name is myself.
Starts with a V, yeah?
Yeah, it's in the first book of mine. I mean, it's such a long time ago when I wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say that Latin came from Saturn's people.
Yeah. Did he mean literal people, or how should we understand that?
I'm not sure. It was just a thing I threw in there just to embellish my thought process at the time. I'd have to get back to you on that one. Can you see this picture? Can you see this picture? Saturn, the hammer and the sickle.
No, yeah, in the line of the other pictures, I can see it, but
or screen sharing. Stop sharing. Oh, let me stop screen sharing that then, and share this. Oh. Oh, well, basically what I wanted to say was that the hammer and sickle, the hammer and sickle that they use for representing communism, is a play on the cross over the crescent of Saturn. It's the glyph of Saturn, because it's not the sickle over the hammer. It's the hammer over the sickle. So it's a satanic structure of control. It's command and control top down. And the people who created, the people who financed communism were the Western financial boys. The City of London and Wall Street, they financed the communist revolution, both in Russia and for Chairman Mao, because Chairman Mao used to work, and he was editor of Yale University magazine, of course, in China, before he was financed into becoming the communist leader. And every communist takedown starts off with the rounding up of the intellectuals and the mass murder of millions. So we're moving into this phase now. So God knows what they're going to do to us. Yeah, it's a shame I can't get that picture up. How do we do that? Yeah, share.
Yeah, it sometimes happens.
So you can only see those lines of all those little photos.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. See, I'm not, because I've not used this platform before.
So you also had, you hinted at, oh yeah, here we go.
Oh, here you've got it. Yeah, there we have it. There's your hammer and your sickle. It's just a play of the cross of the cross over the crescent of Saturn. So it's a satanic structure of governance. Communism. And that's what we're heading into. We're heading into a collective, a top-down collective run by these wealthy corporate conglomerates that have all joined together to take over the world.
Yeah, and the mantra is for the greater good.
Oh yeah, the greater good. That's right, greater good. Wasn't that what Lenin said? And also Mao. I think they both said that. It was for the greater good. Yeah, look how many millions got beaten to death.
Yeah.
Oh.
For the greater good. Yeah, there will be collateral damage for the greater good.
It's always for the greater good. Beware of these big ideas.
Yeah.
See, I think it's more sensible to have your old nation states, your old sovereignties back again, which can compete independently from one another. Using their own unique styles of government. They will shine on their own merits, help each other out, but shine on their own merits, and therefore attract people from various other places, from the one who shines the most, setting an example. With communism, it's a race to the bottom, not a race to the top. It's a race to poverty and all satanic
famine
characteristics.
Yeah.
Yeah, race to the bottom. And also, you see, if you had a ship, if you sent a ship out into the ocean, you would give it bulkheads. You put bulkheads periodically along the ship. This is like having sovereign nations. So if one nation becomes compromised, one bulkhead becomes compromised, it's not going to flood the whole ship and sink the vessel. Like this one global system is going to sink the whole planet if it becomes compromised, because there's no man on a white horse going to help us if we're under one system.
Yeah, I think there is nobody anyway interested in helping us. And that is why I usually stay away from any type of savior program. You know, like QAnon and Trump will, at the 11th hour, will save the day for all of us, blah, blah, blah.
Controlled opposition.
Yeah, yeah.
You see, there's an old parable, isn't there, about the Tower of Babel. If society gets too smart, too clever for itself, and starts to build its tower and unites everybody under one language and one global governance, builds a tower up to heaven, God's not happy with that, and he'll smash it. He'll smash it. Smash it. This is the spiritual God I'm talking about, not the demiurge.
Yeah.
This is another aspect we need to talk about, because you have the God of the Old Testament, which is more than likely the demiurge.
Exactly.
Not the spiritual God, which lives in the center of the pleroma and is part of the collective subconscious realm of the spirit world. This is the Logos. So you have the spiritual God and you have the material God. So we are in a phase now, we're moving into this epoch ruled by Saturn. And because it's a material age, there's a good chance that we might see a material demiurge appear as a leader. Whereas Jesus, you see, was the leader of the Piscean age. But he says, my kingdom is not of this world. It is a spiritual kingdom, because it was the crescent over the cross.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance we might see a representative of the demiurge or an archon or whatever sit on the throne in the supernal triad, which is in Jerusalem.
What Christians would call Antichrist?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that what you just mentioned, that the God of the Old Testament might be the demiurge. The thing what gave it away for me, let's say where I started doubting, was these blood sacrifices. If you are the creative force behind everything and anything, you do not need blood sacrifices. That's total nonsense. So that tells me I'm dealing with a different energy.
Yeah, that's right. It's a physical, it's the physical material realm. They want to dominate that. So the cross represents the blood. It represents the body, the physical realm. And if, yeah, that's right, the demiurge. So I think they're bringing the demiurge back. There's a possibility. I'm just about to make a new video.
Yeah.
And the new video is going to be about all these aliens and extraterrestrial concepts, which have manifested themselves over the last 100 years, are not really extra. They're not from another planet. I'm going to put forward the idea that they're really the archons working for the demiurge. So, because if you look at all the old stories of the archons, they are machine-like, and they look a little bit like the grey, the small greys, which people class as aliens. And these archons, or possibly what they've been doing, is been going around humanity, abducting people in order to create new hybrid species.
Yeah.
Alter the DNA, and in order to place these hybrids in positions of authority, because these hybrids have no conscience. They are psychopathic. They fit perfectly well. They fit
And we
perfectly
find them in
well
governments
in the corporate,
predominantly.
in the corporate structure. They fit
Yeah.
perfectly well in the corporate structure, because the corporate structure is designed for the psychopath to climb to the top. It's a psychopathic entity in its own right. So these corporations are all joined together now. And I think the demiurge has been sending his archons disguised as extraterrestrials, or loves the idea that people think they're extraterrestrials, but they're not. It's these demons from the Old Testament. They're preparing humanity for the takeover. It's a theory, but we shall see.
Do you know who Tom Montauk is?
I've heard of Montauk, yeah.
Yeah. So he says that the demiurge is an AI. Can you see that, or aspects of that?
Well, absolutely, yes. And you see, the demiurge cannot survive in our biological planet. It can only interface with humanity through either suggestions into the subconscious or through AI. And all this technology seems to me, it's a way for the demiurge to interface with the human collective and to totally control us with artificial intelligence, with the AI and the 5G networks and all this electromagnetic pollution. So we need to really stay clear of this. If we want to take back control of our lives, we've got to uproot all this technology and be very sensible about the direction we're going in, because we've got a lot of useful idiots taking us into a very dark, sinister direction. You've gone very quiet.
I'm not, yeah, I was just looking here. Yeah, here we have the two glyphs. There it's very visible that it is inverted. You know here where Jupiter is and where Saturn is? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you've got the expansive characteristics of Jupiter, which is goodwill, good fortune, Jupiter Zeus. The crescent of spirituality over the cross of the material realm. And then you have Saturn, of course, which is 108 degrees polar opposite. This is why a lot of people that have been born in the Jupiterian age, like us, our generation, we feel like the world is being turned completely upside down. That the new generation who are being born now, they're not going to have any
memory.
Memory. Their coordinates are starting from today.
Yeah, sure.
So they have no reference point to our past. They will not understand what real freedom means. They won't understand what it means to be jovial, Jupiterian, and happy. They're only going to know satanic energies, and that's going to be their normal. And if they ever get into positions of authority, like they will do in 20 years' time, they're not going to be very happy with us questioning them. And if we question them from a Jupiterian standpoint, we're likely to be locked away as mental people.
For the greater good.
Yeah, for the greater good. Isn't that what Stalin did?
Yeah. If you're lucky, you're just locked away. Otherwise, yeah, against the wall, starved to death, tortured to death. Yeah.
It's frightening. Frightening.
Yeah. So you, in one of your videos, you had an interesting connection between the banking system and the current mass immigration that we are seeing in the Western countries. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, well, the white shoe boys in the City of London who control global finance are basically controlling the state of play for the globalization project. The IMF and the World Bank are the next level up from what the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve were. They are pulling the levers financially for the globalization project. And any country that doesn't play ball with this project is usually financially ruined. They try financial means first before they do the takeovers. But this project's been going on for a long time. It's the old British Empire, because the British Empire, in order to finance its global dominance, had to join forces with the Judaic money changers, Rothschilds, because they were the ones with all the money. So they financed the British Empire, and wherever the British Empire went, would place in one of the Rothschild banks, and they would they would enslave the population with their usurious system. And this is what you guys fought against this twice in the last century. People don't realize that there was a lot more behind the scenes than just a military war. It was economic and also an ideological war. People, they have no idea that that these Western countries that allied themselves against Germany, who was trying to free itself from the shackles of usurious British Empire debt-based monetary system, going around Europe, liberating them from this debt-based money system. But those that fought against them thought they were fighting for freedom, but they were really fighting to expand the usurious debt-based monetary system and keep it together. And now we are where we are now. We're all under this one world global usurious monetary system.
Yeah. Although I have to say, for the Germans, the Hitler years were not funny as well.
Well, absolutely not. It wasn't. That time wasn't
that
funny
was
for anybody.
horrible. Oh my goodness.
That time wasn't funny for anybody.
I have known people personally who had been persecuted, not because they were Jews, they were just dissidents. They had they dared to think otherwise. Yeah, and they disappeared you before you could count to 3.
That's right. The whole time period turned everybody into monsters. Nobody was innocent. The British were monsters. The Americans were monsters. We were all monsters. That generation, it didn't need to happen. They could have dealt with it a lot differently. Anyway, where were we? We were with the banking system.
Yeah.
So the banking system realized that after it had got all the Federal Reserve in place and all the other, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, and we had the United Nations set up, it had no longer it had no need for nation states. They were the problem, because they didn't want another nation again standing up against them like Germany did. So they could not allow National Socialism to blossom anywhere. And in order to do that, you had to destabilize national identity. And one way to do that is by forced immigration policies, mixing people all together so they have no national heritage, no identity that's unique from anybody else. So everybody's ancestral heritage has all been wiped out now. It's finished. Because they don't want another country rising up against them with National Socialism, because National Socialism is a very, very strong, powerful, uniting force, like communism. It rallies people around to look after the nation state. But of course, you can't have that in a globalization project.
So under this Saturnian influence, how, what are your thoughts? What will education, so-called education, look like?
Well, education is going to be limited. It's going to be a limited indoctrination.
Okay. Yeah, but to a certain degree, that has been
Yes.
an indoctrination camp for a long time.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course, because you go to one of these universities, these modern universities, which will give you 1 degree of compartmentalized academic knowledge.
Mm.
Whereas if you study universal wisdom of astrology, it will give you 360 degrees of universal knowledge. I mean wisdom. It will give you wisdom. Talking about metaphysics, beyond the physical, you bring in all the different combinations of soul, spirit, and the material realm into form within 360 degrees of its influence in your life and society. But the way the modern educational system works is to compartmentalize everything. It's another divide and rule tactic.
Mm.
You see, in Spanish or Latin, the diabolos. Diabolos is Satan. And diabolos is made up from 2 words, divide and abolish.
Mm.
It's a satanic method of controlling people, creating order. The demiurge doesn't like unpredictability.
Mm. You know what, we have a lot of, with Saturn, we have a lot of black going on. Black cubes, black ropes, the black motor boards that the...
Of course. The schooling system, you see,
yeah.
you graduate with a black mortarboard on your head, which means they've squared off your mind.
Mm.
They've squared it off and give you a Saturnian organized thinking process. And they wear the black robes and they all think, oh, look at me, I've graduated, I'm so clever. But really, their mind's just been squared off.
Yeah, yeah. And then I thought, what about Men in Black? Is there a connection as well? Have you ever thought along those lines?
Well, not really. You mean the Men in Black that go looking for aliens?
Yeah.
Well, the only people I know that wear black all the time were the Orthodox Jews. And of course, their holy day is Saturn Day, their day, worshipping day, because they choose Saturn over all the other planets, whereas Christians choose Jupiter, Muslims choose Venus, and Buddhism chooses Mercury.
So yesterday I talked to Masaki Miyagawa, and we talked about Black Lives Matter, and that Beyonce has a new album out. It's called Black is King, and then on the cover you see her with the horns. And yeah. So we have been speculating that this entire ritual that's going on around Black Lives Matter is definitely not about people of darker skin color. It's about, you know, the Black Lives Matter, you know, the Saturnian lives. Can you see that, or would you say that is nonsense?
Well, there is an element to that because Egypt used to be called Kemet, Blackland.
Yeah.
And the Egyptians were called the people of the Blackland. So opposite the Red Sea, you have the Holy Land. These are where the holy people are, the Muslims, the Christians, and the Jews. And opposite, the Red Sea, you had the pharaohs. You had the pharaonic. This is the demiurge. This is where the demiurge lived. This is when in the old times when the gods used to be among men, ruling and building their great pyramids or whatever, great statues and monuments with all the slaves of humanity. This was the Black Land, the Black Land. So maybe they're preparing everybody again for satanic things with horns and a Black Land, because they are preparing them for that is the new normal in the subconscious, to be more Saturnic and more accepting of dark forces rather than the uplifting light forces which were represented from the Piscean age.
Yeah, that is exactly how I saw that cover of Beyonce, and Black is King. Yeah,
this is why these pop stars are promoted. There's plenty of artists out there that are fantastic, but they'll never get anywhere because they are not satanic in nature. They don't promote the satanic agenda, which is what the establishment want.
Yeah,
they want the they want these dark forces in the spotlight, and it's just accelerating and accelerating and it'll just become the new normal, and before we know it, there'll be human sacrifices as normality. So
yeah, I can see that. Unfortunately, I can see that.
But fortunately for us, I mean, we're in our later stages of our lives, so we might not be around when that happens, unless we get reincarnated again as.
No, I don't want to. This is my last round. I have had
This is my last round. No, not again. What about when you get up to the pearly gates and God says, "Oh, sorry, you've got to do another round."
No, sorry. That wasn't the deal.
You've got another 70 years.
No way, Jose. No, I go straight somewhere else, bypassing everything. No judgment, no nothing, no life review. I go straight to a place where I want to be.
Whizzing around the universe, you see.
Yeah, you know how they say that after death you will experience what you believed in. If let's say you believe in Mohammed, you believed in Jesus, you will experience that. So my intention is I go straight where I want to be, and that is not here, no longer here in 3D. There will be no so-called judgment for me. Nobody's going to judge me. I will just be a free agent.
Yeah, it's good to keep your sense of humor.
Yeah.
See, this is Jupiterian humor. It's jovial.
Yeah.
We're definitely from the Jupiterian age.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Christianity, because there it can get confusing. We have, of course, the day of worship is Sunday, which would be, the sun as the celestial body. But it has also aspects of Jupiter Zeus, but it has also been Saturnized. So can you unravel that for us a little bit?
Well, where do we start? Where do we start on this one? I suppose for anybody listening that doesn't appreciate that each monotheistic religion has adopted a different planet above all the other planets, because before the days of monotheism, all the planets would have been worshipped as a polytheistic together, pantheistic. But then as monotheism trickled in, the groups of people started to pick out one of the planets and attempted to draw out the energetic influence from that individual planet and promote it within their ideology of their cult. So you have Christianity with Jupiter. And it's no coincidence that Jupiter is the most expansive, the biggest planet in the solar system. And Christianity is the biggest, most expansive religion on Earth. And there's also a study was done that the body mass index of Christians is bigger than all the other religions. Because it's the planet of gluttony. And it's really, the days of the week reflect this planetary alignment and order. If we start with Monday as the first day of the week, because the moon is Luna, Una, one, and it's the first celestial body out from the planet Earth. So the moon, and then it's Mars. So Lunes, Martes, Mercrales. Mercrales is the third day of the week. It's Mercury. And in Sanskrit, the word Buddha with one D means the planet Mercury.
Yeah.
So every time you go to the Buddhist temple, you'll do 3 prostrations. You'll have 3 sticks of incense, and you go around the temple 3 times. It's all 3s in Buddhism because it's the third day of the week. In Christianity, it's the 4th day of the week. And the crescent for Jupiter is the number 4, as you see on the screen. It also uses the cross, a 4-pointed star, to symbolize its religious.
But Thursday has also a connection to Thor, yeah?
Yes, that's right, Thor's day. But and Thursday, Thursday, Holy Thursday, is a tradition in the Catholic Church where the bishops get together to wash the feet of 12 of their friends, or the bishops. And Thanksgiving is the American celebration for their Christian identity, Thanksgiving. This happens on the 4th Thursday. Is it the 4th Thursday in November? In November, and this is in Sagittarius, the sign of Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. And the 4th Thursday is when you have Thanksgiving, which is the most gluttonous activity of the calendar. So yes, anyway, Jupiter is 4, Christianity is Jupiter, and Jupiter is 4. The Muslims, their holy day is Friday. It's the 5th day of the week. They pray 5 times a day. This is Venus Day, of course. They've chosen the planet Venus. They pray 5 times a day, adhere to the 5 pillars of Islam, and their first morning prayer call is called the Fajr. And it takes place just before dawn when Venus comes up on the horizon at Mecca. I mean, if this is all coincidence, it's a very good one. And then the Jews, of course, they have adopted Saturn as their predominant planet of influence. And they have their Sabbath on a Saturday. And they have the 6-pointed star, the Star of David, to represent their religious faith. So this is how it's all planning out. This is it's all different. What was your initial question? I've forgotten.
Yeah, with these 3 different celestial bodies in Christianity, Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn. Because the worship day is Sunday, then it has Jupiterian aspects, and we have also Saturnian aspects.
Yeah, the Saturnian aspect. Hmm. Got me on that one. I'm not sure how to answer that one. I'd have to. Yeah, Christianity has always been opposed to anything Saturnian because of the old Catholic Church were always opposed to the Jews. They. Oh, well, I know what your question is. It was the Saturnization of Christianity.
Yeah.
Well, before the Vatican II, the Catholic Church opposed Judaism specifically because Judaism was a religion of Saturn influence.
Mm-hmm.
They chose Saturn, and the Catholic Church chose Jupiter. So they could never be ideologically together because they were 180 degrees apart metaphysically.
Yeah.
One was worshipping, according to some popes, the demiurge, and the Christians were worshipping the God of the New Testament, which was the spiritual God, not the material God. So when the Vatican II comes, you have a merger of all the different religions, and they create a whole new set of rules for the future direction of the Catholic religion. And to mark this, they called the first pope after the Vatican II John Paul. It was a double-barreled name. It was the first pope in history that had a double-barreled name. Now, why did they give him a double-barreled name? John Paul. It's because John represents Capricorn, which is Saturn. And Paul represents Christianity. So you've got Saturn taking precedence over spirituality in the name of the Pope is basically telling you, I've now done a 180-degree turn, and I'm telling you with my double-barreled name, John Paul, that we are now putting materialism ahead of spirituality.
Okay.
So it's been Saturnized. The whole of the Catholic Church has now gone over to globalization. It's merging with the globalization project. It's no longer representing the old traditional values of Jupiter worship because it no longer can. Because the Pope abdicated in 2013 because he knew it was the end of the age. The age had finished. The age of Jupiter had finished, and he could no longer be representing it. So he's only the second Pope in history that's abdicated. And also, the moment he abdicated at 11 o'clock in the morning. And by lunchtime, dinner time, Jupiter was overhead in the mid-heaven. The planet Jupiter was overhead at the mid-heaven, and a bolt of lightning came straight from the heavens and struck the top of the Vatican.
Yeah.
On that exact day, twice, Jupiter, Thor, two bolts of lightning straight into the top of the Vatican on that day when the Pope resigns his seat from Jupiter. I mean, is that the heavens giving you a bit of a not happy with this?
Not happy with what? That he abdicated, or with the Vatican in general? Because to me, honestly, when I think Vatican, what I really think is organized crime.
Well, yeah, mafiosi and stuff, because it's one of the biggest cartels on the planet. They've got all the old knowledge of Kabbalism and all this secret occult knowledge hidden in their vaults, and they know how to. They know how the game works. They know how to manipulate people subconsciously as well as physically.
Yeah. Do you think that the library of Alexandria really burned down with all the books, or is it possible that a huge chunk of those scrolls and texts are in the vaults of the Vatican?
Yeah, the library at Alexander was under I think four fires in its history, and it didn't all ever burn down. It was just partially burnt down in certain parts, and I think probably a lot of the stuff at the end, I would assume, is it's a good chance it's in the bottom of the Vatican library.
Mm.
But I'm just guessing here. I'm just guessing on that.
Yeah, okay. We probably, allegedly, they have opened their secret, the archives, but I don't think that they are showing everything. Mm-mm.
No, they'll probably just show you the cafeteria of the library, put a few books in there, and they'll keep all the good stuff to themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's also been a Saturnization of the Islam. That's gone under the same knife as the Christians, because they're God's people as well. They're spiritual people because they go by the crescent. But anything with the crescent is spiritual. And the Hejaz and the Holy Land are spiritual lands opposite the Red Sea, of course, and the land of the Demiurge, the Black Lands of Kemet. Egypt. So the Muslims have been under attack by the British Empire, especially during the last century, with the destruction, the undermining of their unity in Arabia, with Lawrence of Arabia in the First World War, and then the House of Saud, which took over the Sunni aspect of Islam. And the House of Saud, of course, is a very ruthless, perverted arm or expression of Islam, and a lot of traditional Muslims won't pay it any attention. They think it's very, very ruthless, and it doesn't reflect Islam at all. But there's also the Shia side of Islam, which was doing relatively well under the Shah. And then when the Ayatollah took over, the Shah actually said that if you lift up the Ayatollah's beard, it would have "Made in Britain" stamped underneath it. Because he was convinced he was an agent of the British Empire in order to subdue the Shiite aspect of Islam and to corrupt them. So Islam has been under a hell of a lot of diabolos, divide and abolish, over the years. And they no longer have a Khalifa, whereas the Christians have a Pope. So they're not united in any way. And if they were united, then they would have more clout. And they're also being vilified in the media around the West, making out that they're all terrorists and God knows what. But of course, the satanic rulers of this world are going to say that about it.
Yeah, but that was a strange move, I thought. On the one hand, especially Western media, they spend a lot of energy portraying most Muslims as potential terrorists. But then, at the same time, you had to shut up and accept them if they immigrate by the millions. You know what I mean? That was really bizarre.
Yeah. But the ones that are emigrating by the millions are probably not practicing Muslims. They're not, they're more, what would you call it?
Secular?
Yeah, secular. They're more secular than, and I think they've lost their attention to the spiritual side of life, and they're more materialistic. So I don't think they're gonna. I think they're gonna be more of an asset to the Satan, the satanic globalists than they are as a hindrance. The British Empire have always played people off against each other to get their way. There's only a rule by a handful of people in the city of London. A handful of wealthy cartels run the show through these secret networks, and and big organizations,
Mm.
yeah, of their underlings and minions doing the work for them and their agents. So it's not looking good, is it?
No, no. But you know, yeah, as you said, I'm from the Jupiterian age, and you know, I'm not saying your research is wrong. I know it's correct. Yet, I have a very optimistic outlook. I have this tenacity to be free, you know, and to turn it around. And I will not, I will
Yeah,
not bow down. So,
I'm the same.
what?
I'm exactly the same. You see, I have I have I have Uranus and Pluto
Yeah,
on my ascent in my first house on my ascendant. So I'm very rebellious and revolutionary, and opposite that is Saturn.
mm,
I'm opposed to anything of authority.
yeah,
I cannot be controlled. That's
yeah.
been my downfall in life. No one can control this beast.
Yeah, my first four houses are empty. But
Yes.
since, let's say, the energy of pessimism and the connection to Saturn, would you say that it is a good idea to check where you have it in your birth chart if you have a lot of problems with pessimism, because that can really ruin your life on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's very good to understand your own birth chart to get to know
Mm,
your strengths and weaknesses. Because if you buy a new computer or a new car, you'll get a handbook with it to
yeah,
explain how it works, its performance. But if you get a new baby, you don't get a handbook with the baby, but you can have if you do a natal chart.
mm,
It'll give you the character, disposition, and what's that? Internet connection is unstable. So yeah, that's the handbook of the baby, and you can use that to your advantage. There's no point in trying a career which you're completely unsuited to.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they they should really use that in the early stages of schooling, people's development. They probably used to do years ago, but I think now they just look at it as a pseudoscience and laughable, and they can't wait to discredit us as charlatans.
yeah. Well, but the real rulers here, they are into it
Oh,
every day,
absolutely.
and they
Yeah, I
are
mean,
ruling, and you are not. What does that tell you?
yeah, yeah. What does that tell you? I mean, Ronald Reagan's wife, she was big into astrology,
Oh,
and they, they they always reckon that he used to run past some big stuff past her, and he wanted to get the green light from her before he got it from his generals or whoever was aiding him.
mm,
So yeah, she was big into astrology. But you've got to really understand how it works, and you've got to understand how to read the glyphs, because it's a language, and these glyphs can tell you a lot. Um, People say, "Do you believe in astrology?" And I
mm,
say, "Well, it's a language. It's like English. I don't believe in English. I understand English, so I can
yeah,
understand astrology because it's a language. But it
yeah.
takes time, and there's a lot of bad teachers out there."
Yeah, that's true. But somehow these energies can, you know, what you just talked about with choices of profession, somehow it will break through one way or another, at least sometimes. I remember I wanted to be, I wanted to study archaeology. And then my parents came with the entire fear porn program. no, that it will be, you will not find a job. It will be either very boring, or you end up in a museum all day and you will have no money. And at that point in my life, that fear porn program that worked on me.
Yes.
Yeah, but with my Sagittarian energies, yeah, then I applied with the airlines and started flying, because that was number one on my bucket list. I want to see this place. I want to see what this earth is all about. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, if you want me to do your chart reading, I can do it. Just send me the time and place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to keep.
I have I actually have a chart, my birth chart on my computer. Yeah.
Anything
So
else you want to ask me?
how long have we been going?
It's nearly 20 to 7. Probably an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, we've covered some good stuff.
Yeah, we did. Would you like to share another one, another image? Otherwise, we can stop the screen share.
Oh yeah, we can share this image.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting concept. Can you see this?
Yes.
The Giza Prime Meridian.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is where the whole concept of the Aryan comes from. Now this, your listeners will find this quite fascinating. The Aryan, it's related to Aries.
Mm-hmm.
Now if you're born in the month of March, you're an Aries. Or March the 21st or April the 21st. They call you an Aries. Or you're not quite an Aryan, but you're an Aries. But if you wanted to be a three-dimensional Aryan, you would have to be born not only at the time of Aries, you would have to be born in the land zone of Aries, and also in the epoch of Aries. The epoch, the age of Aries. So if we take Giza as the benchmark for our prime meridian, that is 0. That is 0 degrees longitude. Now, if we divide the Earth up into 12 segments, each one 30 degrees, we give each segment a sign of the zodiac. And the first sign, 30 degrees east of the Great Pyramid at Giza, is Aries. This is the land of the Aryan. This was the Persian Empire. And the Persian Empire took place the Persian Empire took place during the epoch of Aries. During the in BC, it was about 500 BC, Persian Empire. So anybody who was born in that land during the time period and also in the month of March would be a three-dimensional Aryan. They would have the character traits of a warrior. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
They would have the character traits of a warrior because they're fulfilling 3 dimensions of this Mars. And so the aspect, this would be a great way to assemble an army. Let's get all Aryans together, the people who are Aries. Well,
Here in the middle, that is where you can see which planets are aligned to which body parts, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, let me just carry on with this. Now, this is Mesopotamia and Sumer. this is the cradle of civilization. This is where the Aryans were supposed to have originated. The word Mesha in Sanskrit, Mesha, means Aries, and Potamia means rivers. So this is Aryan rivers. I mean, is that just a coincidence?
Mm.
People will say I'm just misleading them with this, but this is the land of Aries, the Persian Empire, and they called it Iran. Iran means the land of Aryan. Okay? And people from here, then the Aryans were supposed to have then moved and migrated all over Europe to become different parts of Europe, different sub-races of the Aryans. Anyway, that's an interesting concept for you. You were talking about the body parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the different body parts that are reflected in the zodiac. The head in Aries, to the feet in Pisces. That's why Jesus washes the feet.
Mm.
And so, yeah, it's all very fascinating stuff. Fascinating.
So Scorpio, the sexual organs, Sagittarius, the upper legs and hips.
Yeah, hippopotamus,
Hippo,
Sagittarius.
yeah.
The Capricorn is kneecaps.
Mm.
Aquarius is the shins. And of course, Leo is the heart. It's the sun, the heart. And the moon, Cancer, is the chest. Gemini is the
arms.
The arms and the hands. Taurus is the throat.
Mm. Yeah, and
so
Aries, of course, the head.
Aries is the head.
Mm.
That's right. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, wonderful, colourful science. It's a shame they don't allow you to study it at school. I think they do in India. They have universities in India still doing astrology.
Vedic astrology?
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, maybe we are getting there. Probably not in my lifetime, but yeah, and you know, once you understand it and you can really teach it, that's a wonderful thing. And I would say we need more people on board.
Well, also by understanding it, you can understand different aspects. You see the world in a deeper sense, in a deeper dimension. There's a more of a dimension to the world from a metaphysical dimension, and all the things that go off. You can spot it a mile away, and it gives you an extra boost of wisdom which you can't get from academia.
Yeah,
and intuition. You get bouts of intuition which stem from all this.
Yeah, that is so true.
So I carry on and make my videos. I do my podcasts and try and promote my books. But I recently had a free book promotion for my first book, Language of the Gods. But Amazon weren't playing ball with it, and a lot of people were told that the book is not available, even though it was free. So I was getting all these messages on Facebook saying, "We can't download your book. What's wrong?"
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that is another thing. We have to find better platforms, other solutions. From these huge companies, be it tech companies like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Yeah.
And it's not a person. It's not a person doing the censorship. It's a machine.
Yeah, sure.
It, it's just their algorithms and their whatever they program in it to censor. And so we're, as human beings, we're becoming second-class citizens to the technology that they're putting on us, which is, I find it intolerable. I'm not going to accept it.
Yeah, but to the technocrat, you are only a mind-body machine. You know, there's nothing spiritual going on.
Absolutely. You see, yeah, this is Karl Marx. Karl Marx and his material dialectic. He perverted the Hegelian dialectic. The Hegelian dialectic had the creator consciousness as part of the dialectic, but Karl Marx created a atheistic version, which was material dialectic, which is absolutely satanic. This is what communism's all sparred from. And it's no coincidence that Karl Marx found his refuge in London. No other country would have him, but London would have him, of course, because he was their naughty boy who was going around causing all the trouble that they were creating. They were using him to ferment all the chaos and divide and rule opportunities for the British Empire. He was one of their minions, I would say.
Yeah. So do you have any final words, any ideas to wrap it up? Yes, you will be back.
Stay positive and keep your sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need it.
Yeah. Can you stop the screen share?
Yes. Stop the screen share.
Thank you.
Yes. My face has gone all blue. What's that background screen?
Yeah, I have a little bit of pinkish. I don't know what it is. It is what it is. I don't care.
Because the lighting in the room subsided because the sun's gone down. Yeah, it's been an enjoyable discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right. We need to keep our humor. Luckily, I have been equipped with a lot. It came with a package. I didn't have to fight for it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I have Jupiter in my first house too, so it gives me a lot of optimism and jovialness. Keeps my spirits at a high.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, Brian, I thank you so much for coming. I found that very, very interesting. As I said, this will not be the last time that we have talked. And I will let you know when the video is up. And if you want to, I will send you the Zoom file in case you want to upload it to your own YouTube channel. I don't know if you do things like that. Yeah. So guys, that was it. Night Flight for today with the wonderful Brian Taylor. We see you all next time. Stay safe from tyranny and stay sound out there. Bye-bye.
Good night.